Okay, hi everyone, whoever is watching. This is quite a new thing, so the first of a few events, I suppose. The purpose of this is really to make meditation and spiritual understanding a bit more accessible to people. So I'm going to hang on for just a couple of minutes to see who else joins us. Sometimes this video feed takes a little while to go through. But I guess a good starting point would be to do some meditation together, really. So to begin with, I'd just like you to really sit comfortably. Maybe take a while to feel the sensation of your breath, or find a way of just coming into the moment to arrive in the here and the now. As we go through this event this evening, feel free to post any questions. As I've said before, if you do that through the Heart Sangha Facebook page, that would be great. And I'll kind of read them as we go through this together today. So I guess I'll start really with a short talk about what meditation is. There's I suppose a lot of takes on that. You know, different traditions talk about different things. You have everything from Buddhist meditation, mindfulness, Kundalini meditation, pranayama, mantra, you know, a huge list really. But then the first thing to know about meditation really is it means your natural state of being. It means who and what you already are. So then we have to look at the difference between what we would call a meditation technique and the actual state of meditation. So a meditation technique exists to really still the mind. The first stage of meditation, perhaps the only stage, is because the other stages are quite natural. First stage of meditation practice, which we're going to look at shortly, is really the ability to focus, the ability to concentrate. In yoga, it's called single-minded awareness, or focus, or I think in the Gita it talks about single-point awareness. So usually this starts because we notice that our mind is very, very busy. We think we have a lot of problems in life, and initially we may think most of those problems exist outside of ourselves. So we think that suffering is happening to us because of the things that are happening to us on the outside. You know, usually the big three problems that we face. Everyone faces at some time in different ways. Is finances, so money problems, relationship issues. That can be intimate relationships, can be friendships, it can be just the way we interact with other human beings at work. And then health. Health is the other thing that seems to stir a lot of stuff up within ourselves. But then if we start to examine these things, for example, finances, relationships, or health, it's not usually the thing itself, you know, a relationship, or, you know, lack of money in the bank, or some kind of health concern that causes most of the suffering. What causes most of the suffering is actually the mind's reaction to those things. So, you know, we get a health diagnosis, for example, and usually after maybe an initial shock or disbelief or a desire to push that away. What causes a lot of the suffering is actually how we project the future. Well, this means this, and maybe I'll lose my job. Maybe this will lead to me having no money, or, you know. But if we start to examine that, none of those things are particularly true. They're thoughts happening in the mind in relation to the future. So the way that meditation works on relieving these levels of suffering in the mind is it draws our attention to something else. So if you're having a problem, everyone's having a problem in life at the moment. Meditation helps by simply directing the awareness away from the thought stream that's attached to that problem. So we'll do a very short exercise now, okay? Just to give you some insight into how meditation works. So the first thing we learn is this point of focus, or point of concentration. And this is where it seems that there's so many different types of meditation, because each offers a different point of awareness. Some Buddhist meditations focus mainly on the breathing. Some Buddhist meditations, some yoga meditations also predominantly maybe use mantra or posture. Zazen meditation from Zen, that uses the point called the hara, or the dantian, as an energy center to be focused on. But all these things, as far as I can see, are just points of awareness, something to bring that single pointed mind to. So for a short exercise now, what I'd like you to do is bring your awareness to something that isn't your thinking. Just for a short time, and we'll just do a short exercise. So sit comfortably. Just take a moment. Maybe feel your breathing. Take a few conscious breaths and feel that sensation of air, maybe in the nose. Feel the texture of the air as it brushes past the nostrils and through the nose. Take a few conscious breaths. And then we can use a very simple breath mantra to start. This is from a Zen master, I think it's pronounced, they call him Te because it's easier than Thich Nhat Hanh, I think, or Han or something. But he has a very simple, beautiful breath mantra. So as you breathe in, just think of these words: I calm my mind. As you breathe out, think of the words: I smile. And do this a few times. Simply focus on the in-breath. Think, I calm my mind. And with the out-breath, I smile. Do this for around 3 more breaths, maybe. Breathing in, I calm my mind. Breathing out, I smile. And now just for a moment, open your eyes. Just look around. And maybe as you look around the room or at your PC, just allow your awareness to rest on something. You know, it can be something you see through the window, just for a few seconds, a few moments. And then maybe bring your awareness to the feeling of your body. just for a few moments again. And that's simply all meditation is. That's it. Nothing more complicated than that. So that would be called meditation practice. The ability to hold the mind in place. Most of the spiritual traditions, the religious traditions, they tend to use mantra or centering prayer because, again, it's such a simple technique. We'll look at that shortly, I think. We'll come back and do some mantra meditation together this evening. But to start with, I'm just have been posted a couple of questions that I'd like to get around to, really. So the first of these questions that have been sent this evening is a common question, really. So the question is how to allow the universe to bring what is right rather than to try and control events, particularly in love or relationship issues, you know. So then there's two parts to this question to kind of give it some full answer, really. So first is on the practical level. So how do you allow the universe to bring what is right rather than trying to take control? There's so many angles we could approach that from. Okay. The most peaceful and the quickest understanding, I could say, is that probably the quickest way is to examine our life and really ask ourselves the question, do I have any control? When I tried to make that relationship work and it didn't, I wasn't bothered. Maybe another relationship, I wasn't bothered about it working and it did. It's hard to know, really, if we have much control. I mean, there's a good saying in Zen, and the saying is, let go or be dragged. The meditation path or spiritual path, really, the deepest aspect of the mystical path is what we could say is, as much as we might not want to hear it, that the universe is always working in our favor. However, that said, this idea of surrender, when we look back quite often, we look at the bad life events, even that, in relationships to this, we could say bad relationship issues. And quite often those bad relationships are the ones that taught us how to love ourselves, how to be kinder with ourselves, how to be stronger, how not to put up with so much crap from people. So in a way, some of the toughest relationships can be the greatest blessings. But then also, so the question was also, really, how can my life work? How can it be beautiful? How can I experience love and a beautiful relationship? Again, there's so many levels that we can work on this on, okay? Sometimes I say it's like a seed. And that means the seed of love, the beginning point, is, can I learn to love myself? As someone, even if I feel, rightly or wrongly, that no one else loves me, can I still offer that to myself? And that's usually a good starting point to try and examine what is it you're trying to get from other people. because some relationships, you know, understandably, and it's very natural, some relationships we build out of, there's a piece missing in me. So I need to find someone to give me that sense of completeness. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, because that can happen. Someone can come into your life and balance you really, really beautifully. No problem with that. But then ultimately, if that person isn't showing up, you know, or there's an issue with that person and they're not helpful in other ways, what is it that I'm trying to gain from having the relationship? Is it being respected? Is it what other people may think? Or, you know, it could be all kinds of issues, or all kinds of different things. So if you can first identify what it is you're trying to get from the relationship, and then whatever that is, just give it to yourself. You know, okay, I want to feel loved. Okay, how could I feel loved in this moment? What would that take? You know, what is it I could do for myself that would lead to that feeling of love? So that's one level of the answer. You know, if we're looking for that perfect relationship, and there's so many cliches. You know, there's so many cliches, and one could be but it's very true. You know, that we can't really love another fully till we love ourselves. So the chances are, if we can really be more full to ourselves, more accepting, more loving, then the chances are, by the time we meet that person that could come into our lives and give us that feeling of completion, you know, happiness. The cat's probably purring into my microphone here. Then the chances are we're going to be much clearer on the vibes we get off a certain person. You know, do they have good vibes? Do they find, you know, do I connect with them on a deeper level than just trying to hide my loneliness? You know, do I connect with them on that level of soul, or genuine, you know, genuine love? There's a great word I think Khalil Gibran uses in The Prophet, which I'll probably do a reading from this evening, where he said a perfect relationship is that the two pillars of the temple stand separately but supporting that temple. So yeah, I guess that would be my main feedback on that. So how to allow the universe to be in a relaxed state, to be in a peaceful state. That awful kind of conundrum, really, that when you're in the kind of state where you don't need the perfect relationship, then there's every chance it may show up by itself. Yeah, I hope that helps. Okay, so if that's clear for you, brilliant. I hope that helps, and if not, just let me know, and I can speak a little bit more around that. So as I said before, if you want to send me any questions, anything you'd like to know, just send them over to me on Facebook, okay? So coming back to meditation. So meditation, we're trying to create that capacity for the mind to be present, to be in the here and now, not to wander into the past or into the future, but just to stay in place. And so generally in the yoga path, the most celebrated way of doing that, to reach that place where everything just becomes easy and peaceful, will be the use of mantra. So all traditions have mantras. My yoga tradition, the mantra is Om Sai Ram. I'll type that in the message thing just to see. I don't know, these messages sometimes don't go through, but hopefully you receive that. So what we're going to do is a short meditation based around mantra, the Om Sai Ram mantra. So what I'd like you to do again is sit so you're nice and comfortable. And just notice any sensations that are happening in your body. And allow yourself to be fully present to this moment, this here and now, completely. Maybe watch your breath, maybe feel sensation of your body. And try and bring that awareness to a single point. Feel your breath breathing, be in the moment. And then start to repeat in your mind this mantra, Om Sai Ram. Om Sairam. Om Sai Ram. And just repeat that constantly. Om Sai Ram. 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 And try and let any thoughts come and go. Repeating the mantra, Om Saram, Om Saram, Om Saram. And if your mind drifts, very natural, gently bring it back to that point of single awareness. Some people prefer the breath, so maybe feel your breath. And allow your thoughts to come and to go. Okay, thank you, Janine. That's a wonderful question. That's a wonderful question. So coming back to some conversation format. So the question here is, can meditation, Tai Chi and yoga help with coping with our noisy world where silence is hard to find? So let me address that firstly and say, I love to quote the Desert Fathers on this, the Christian mystics. So the Christian mystics said there's 3 types of silence, And one is what they call the silence of the desert, in the Desert Fathers, because these were mystics that lived in the desert. So we could say there's the outer silence. This is most of us, because we're looking for that, we know we want that sense of spaciousness, that sense of stillness. So because we want space, we think, okay, maybe if I live in the countryside or go to the mountains or have a house with like a big house that has a lot of space in it, So they said the first type of spaciousness or silence that we often search for is the outer stillness. And this is very natural, very beautiful. But so we look to nature quite a lot for that, because nature doesn't stir up our mind too much. There's not too much to think about in nature. It almost sometimes feel like nature's in this state of being, without any plans, without any desires. It just is. It just is. So this would be described the outer silence. But then very interestingly, we can go to a mountain or the desert or on a retreat. And at first it feels beautiful because there's not much to think about. It can be initially very peaceful. But then after we spend sometimes even half an hour, a day or 2 days, what is different for everyone. But after we've spent a little time there, suddenly this sense of unease comes back. Suddenly, it's like, well, where did it go? I was in the park, yesterday. It felt so beautiful, so peaceful. And yet today it just feels uneasy, I just can't connect with the nature. So that leads us to the second style of silence, how to find the silence in a busy world. So the second type of silence is called, in the Desert Fathers, they call it the silence of the mind, which we could also class to some level as silence of the emotions. So in meditation, we sometimes touch on that, where maybe we watch our breath or do some mindfulness practice and we just have this peace, the mind just isn't thinking. It feels so good, really good. And some athletes get this. I think they call it the zone. And then sometimes soldiers talk about even having this on a battlefield where even though there's chaos, the mind becomes still. I remember meditating in a pub once, years and years ago. And I felt so at peace because even though the pub was noisy, my mind was still. So then the Desert Fathers say this is the second type of silence. But then they talk about the third type of silence as being the most profound. And they call that the silence of the soul. I would also call this the silence that Eckhart Tolle talks about, or the stillness that he talks about, which isn't necessarily an outer stillness. Sometimes the mind may even still be busy, but suddenly we find this stillness within ourselves, this point of pure light or beauty or calmness. And so this is the true silence. And the Desert Fathers say there's plenty of people that live in the desert, in the calmness, the emptiness. They don't experience that level of silence. But they also say that there's plenty of people who live in cities that do. Of course, there's people in the desert that also experience that. So the first part of the question was related to silence, yeah? So where silence is hard to find. So the ultimate silence we try and find is within ourselves. And of course, you know, we can turn the TV off, go for walks in the park, so we can immerse our physical being in silence from time to time. But then the deepest silence, what I've found through my own practice, the best silence of being in noise is trying to be in noise with compassion to the people making the noise, maybe, and that can also create this internal silence. So the post goes on to say, I would like to ease stress. So yeah. So how do we find that silence in a busy world? Okay. So on the path, we learn, as the, you know, Christian teaching, you know, great wording says to be in the world but not of it anymore. And that in itself is a process. And the process is a slow, again, I think a biblical teaching, not that I've ever read it, but I've been to so many funerals, christenings, and weddings that I've picked bits up, you know. So it says, build up your treasures in heaven, not on earth. So what does this mean? So then it's very specific, and talking about heaven, what heaven is, and it says it's a place within us, and it's a place that's already at hand. So it's a state of pure awareness or pure being. And it says really to build up your treasure in that place, which means the more that we meditate, the more that we're mindful, the more that we're present to life. We start to feel the stillness of the soul. When we work through our stuff, when we unclutter our hearts, as Eckhart Tolle talks about the pain body. So as we start to clear out the pain body, our suppressed emotions, suppressed memories, through a whole range of healing practices, eventually the silence of the soul is discovered. Discovered. And then simply we get our peace from within ourselves. Increasingly, it's a gradual thing with some big awakening experiences along the way. But our identity doesn't come from the stressful world anymore. It comes from the calm center of the storm, our own being. So on one level, we have the word acceptance. Now, acceptance is if we're on the personality level, you know, how can I accept this? So we have techniques for that, mindfulness, mantra work. We have loads of ways to try and accept. Even to accept that we can't accept can be one of those ways. But then there's also this other level, soul level, Buddha nature level. And at the Buddha nature level, we're already in acceptance. Because at Buddha nature level, we're not really pushing against life. We're not trying to reach for some desire, because we have desires because we believe that these desires will lead to happiness. The fulfillment of the desires will lead to a sense of ease and a sense of happiness. But in our true self, the happiness we're looking for, the bliss and the light, we have already. So we don't really need it from the world anymore. So that leads to this state of peace and calmness. So acceptance and surrender, we might need to do consciously on a mental level and an emotional level by the affirmation. Loads of affirmations. One, the devotional affirmation is, your will be done. Okay. You look after this. Universe, the divine, the goddess, the light, Christ, Buddha, the Tao. Okay, I give this to you. And then there's a sense, the sense of peace follows that. But then the deeper level of acceptance is, I just don't have any expectation, no desire, no will of my own. And life is free to unfold as it needs to. So in Zen, don't push the river. We find that we're not necessarily here to control and push against life. That we are life. That we're not here to battle the universe. That we are the universe, There's no separation. So there becomes less to push against and fight against. And bizarrely, it seems that when we stop pushing against the universe or life, it stops pushing against us so much. And so it becomes so much easier. So much easier. Okay. I hope that answered what was a very good question, actually. Very good question. Everyone wants this peace, Everyone wants this peace. In the heart of our being, we know we're meant to be happy. And at the heart of our being, we know we're not meant to suffer. We know that. And it drives us crazy because we suffer. And so we try and hide our suffering through all kinds of methods. We try and find other people that will try and hide it for us or convince us that it's not there. We medicate, legal and illegal. We do so much to avoid the suffering that we feel inside of ourselves. But really, this is the beauty of the spiritual path. I think it's the only thing that works at removing that suffering. It's the only thing that works at showing us that our true nature isn't suffering. It's only who we believe that we are that is suffering. We're not suffering, but because we believe we are who we think that we are, we suffer. Because that being has its desires, has its fears, its insecurities. Desperately trying to find that happiness in the outer world and finding scraps now and again, the highs and the lows. But who we are is happiness, peace. So my pleasure. Yeah, thank you. So I take from what you're saying that by being constant and persistent in my practice, exactly, I can push through to deeper acceptance and peace inside. Yeah, that's the point of practice. It seems so much that people who are on this path of spirituality, they seem to suffer more than other people. And that's at a stage of the path. Yeah, that's right. It seems that way. In some cases, to different levels, different degrees. But that's because what the path is doing is it's teaching us to let go. And usually the only reason we let go of something is because it's not pleasant to hold on to anymore. So it turns the things that aren't really giving us that much happiness into burdens. So we'll start having financial problems until we learn that we can just let go of our finances and let them flow in and out of our life as they need to. We let go of trying to hold and control people and relationships, and we just allow them to be as they are. And so we have peace in that, and then the other person feels loved and accepted and usually reacts to that positively. When health comes, problems come, which they often do. Instead of fighting and thinking this is bad karma, I have to beat this, get over this, we surrender into it, and we may even find at the heart of a sickness, we can find incredible peace because we stop trying to push through life. So yeah, practice, it brings up stuff and it heals stuff. It gives us that insight and that clarity of how to work through our own head like nothing else. This stuff, meditation, Tai Chi, yoga, this is powerful psychotherapy, just wrapped up in a kind of what we might think is some kind of religion tradition, but no, it's very powerful therapy that releases so much from our psyche, so much. Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. One of the reasons I've started teaching so much is that I've been through so much. My suffering has been psychological, on the inside, in life, like depression, anxiety, a whole range of things. And I've used these practices to come through it all. And now for some reason I seem to be happy and peaceful. But I didn't have support as I went through my stuff, which was perfect for me because I had to find answers. It was a slow, laborious task. And so then one of the points of these kind of sessions and the Heart Sangha pages to help people through what I've been through, to help them through the suffering, hopefully quicker, with more insight as well. But yeah, one of the big things of the turmoil, the big lessons that we often have to learn, okay? The big lesson is, can I love myself through this? Whatever's coming up, no one liking me, or my fear that no one likes me, okay, can I like me? All my desires being trashed. Okay, can I find a peace and a happiness that isn't reliant on things turning out anyway at all? So it forces us to ask bigger questions, forces us. Okay, so looking at the time, I could stand to stay here and chat all night as long as people are here, but I'm going to do a reading which might help actually from tonight's teaching and conversation. And it's Kahlil Gibran, I think it's pronounced, from the Prophet on Love. And so this may help in what we've just been talking about. And it goes, when love beckons to you, follow him, though his ways are hard and steep. And when his wings enfold you, yield to him, though sword hidden amongst his pinions may wound you. And when he speaks to you, believe in him, though his voice may shatter your dreams, as the north wind lays waste to the garden. For even as love crowns you, so shall he crucify you. Even as he is for your growth, and so is he for your pruning. Even as he ascends to your heights and caresses your tenderest branches that quiver in the sun, so shall he descend to your roots and shake them in their clinging to the earth. Like sheaves of corn, he gathers you unto himself. He threshes you to make you naked. He sifts you to free you from your husks. He grinds you to whiteness. He kneads until you are plain. And then he assigned you to his sacred fire, that you may become sacred bread for God's sacred feast. All these things shall love do unto you, that you may know the secrets of your heart, and in that knowledge become a fragment of life's heart. That will do for the reading. There is more, and you can look that up under Kahil Gibran, The Prophet on Love. So it's been fun hanging out tonight. I'm going to attempt to try and do this every week. So thank you for signing in. There's been a few of us watching tonight, so thank you. Any feedback about this, I'll watch it through again myself, will be greatly received. This is the first one, so hopefully I'll get clearer each time we do them. So thank you, and have a beautiful night.